Hey everybody, welcome back to the channel. We finished off the 2022-2023 season, so now we're in the rebuild phase for the 2023-2024 season now. So had a really good season last year. We took out Division 2 highest point scorer, took out the Div2 championship, so that's the second year in a row that we've done it. So definitely going to be Division 1 next year, but hey, that's all right, don't mind. We won it twice in 2 years in a row, so can't ask much more. I was really stoked. We finished the season off on a high, car was straight, everything was fine. So, but yeah, now we're rebuilding the car, so we'll get it ready for next season. The only difference for next season is we're going bigger engine. So used to have a 161 cubic inch engine. We're going to 166 now. So bigger horsepower, bigger top end. So we're going to be faster down the straights, and hopefully that gets us up the front, and we can start mixing it with the front runners. So that's what we're aiming for next season. Hopefully we can get a couple podiums, that would be nice. But other than that, nothing's really changed on the car except the engine, to be honest. So got to get the diff in, get the engine plate in, get the front end in, get this thing as a roller, and then we'll take it down to Busso and get my engine builder, Uncle Phil, to rebuild. He's rebuilding the engine now, so once he's done that, we'll put the engine in, start it down there, get it fired up, but that's probably still about a month away. He's still rebuilding it now, so what I can do for now is just get this thing as a roller and get it all built up and get it ready to take down there, so can't wait. So we got the chassis back from powder coating about a week ago now. Massive thank you to Phil Jeffries and Jen at Powderworks. They did an outstanding job. This green is so bright. It's going to look awesome on the track next season. We're still waiting on a couple of last minute parts like the engine plate and the floor pan and that kind of stuff, but I've done what I can with what I have at home of what I can put in the car. As you can see, I've got the steering box already back in the car. All my shock mounts, adjustable shock cables, are back in there. I've put my Jacob's ladder in the car. That's all in. The rear torsion bars are in. Rear arms are in. Obviously, I've got my pool noodle for when I get my diff in there. But other than that, I've basically done everything I can for now. Once I get the engine plate back, obviously I can put the diff in. Bolt everything up. Everything that we took off the car last season has basically gone straight back on, so everything should be center. Obviously we'll measure and double check everything's still square and in the middle of the car. If it's not, then obviously it affects your setup and your handling of the car, but as I said, everything we took off, it's gone straight back on, so everything should be perfect. Other than that, it's just basically one part at a time, get it back together, make sure everything's tight, and then once it's a roller, as I said, we can get it down to Busso and get the engine in, get it started, and then panel her up and get her off to stickers.
Dash is now in and all done. It's just 3 daisies holding it in, 2 at the top, 1 at the bottom. The engine will actually hold the dash in more once it goes in because it's pressed up against it. But other than that, I've also finished the steering box. That's all in, all bolted up with the brackets. I've also put my diff in the car and connected the torque tube. Now the diff's in, I can connect the rear arms and the Jacob's ladder. Everything like that can be connected. And then from here, the torque tube can go up and connect to the engine plate. Once the engine plate's in the car, I can connect the diff and literally have the whole rear end done. And then from there, I can move on to the front end, get that all set up and basically have this thing as a roller. I've now put the engine plate in. That's all in and bolted up. Now what I can do is I can bolt the diff to the engine plate. I'll just show you now. As you can see, this here is going to come up and connect to here. And then once that's all done, I can put the rear arms onto the diff and the Jacob's ladder, and then that's basically the whole rear end bolted up, and then I can move on to the front end. front end in, that's all done, everything's tight. Now I can put the radiator cowling and the radiator in, I can put the battery box in, and basically everything that's at the front of the car I can put in now, so I'll go from there. front end is all hooked up and all done. So I'll give you a quick look. As you can see, radius rods are connected to the front end. Panhard, I've put my radiator and radiator cowling in. My battery box is in down here with the floor pan, that's all connected. All I got to do on the front end now is my shocks, which I'm going to get to in 2 seconds. If I come back, obviously engine plate's in, that's all tight. I've got my second fuel filter here. I come back more, all my fuel system, that's all done. So that's my fuel pump, my main fuel filter, that's all connected. I've left my fuel pump loose as I've got the fuel cable here. So this fuel cable goes up and into the engine through the engine plate. The reason I leave that loose is so when we put the engine in, if the cable needs to go forwards or backwards at all, it can. And once we connect the cable to the engine, then I'll tighten up the pump. Other than that, the rest of the rear end is done. Arms are connected, Jacobs is connected, everything's square and center. So that's really important with speed cars, well, mainly with every race car to be honest. Everything needs to be square and in the center of the car. So it's basically the diff, torque tube, bell housing is like a T. So you want that T to be as square and as straight as possible, because if it's not, then it affects obviously your setup and your handling, and then your car basically drives like crap. So, and it's the same with the front end. You want the toe in and toe out to be the same. You want it to be all perfect. So if everything's straight and everything's square, you'll go forwards. So other than that, I'll connect my shocks up, mount them, still got to put my rock screen and my seat in. So still got a little bit to do, but we're getting there. So when it comes to my shocks, I'm gonna have to adjust them to fit onto the front end. So if I undo this bolt here, you got to set the shocks off the blocks like the front end. So the front end is sitting on these blue blocks. I'll give you a quick look if you can see that. So the front end sits on them, and you basically set the car straight off the blocks. So once I take this out a little bit, hopefully, yep, that can start to turn now. There we go. Now it's lowering. So the reason I did that is because when I go to put my shock on, I got to push it up and connect it to the bottom of the front end right there. So that still needs to be adjusted a little bit more, a little bit lower. Doesn't matter if you go too low, because once you get the shock onto the front end, still a little bit more. Once you get the shock on the front end, you can wind this all the way back up to where it's basically tight. There we go. So once it's on, like that, doesn't matter that the spring's dropping down and all that stuff. Put my nuts on. Okay. One. Two. So now that's all tight. I can lift this up and I'll just slowly wind that up. And you don't want it too loose, you just want to get it to the point where it's just that little bit tight. Yep, right there. Doesn't matter if it turns because it's turning with the spring as well. And once that's where you want it to be, I might go a little bit more actually. There we go. Perfect. You just tighten this bolt up. There we go. That's free to turn. And that's set straight off the blocks. Now I run super shocks, which are adjustable shocks. So what I can actually do now is, I don't know if I have it. No, it's at the back of the car. Here we go, right here. This here is a adjustable cable. So once I get my right hand front shock on, what I'll do is I'll connect that, and then that comes from the shock, travels all the way along to my shock adjusters here. So when I'm racing, if we set the car up for a average track or a tacky track, and the track goes slick in the feature race, what I can do, preferably under yellow lights, is adjust my shocks. So I can just wind these to the left or to the right. And basically what that does is it just either tightens or loosens the shock really. So say if my car is driving off the left rear, I can basically loosen it off so it drives a bit more off the right, or lock the right rear down so it drives off the right and not off the left. But it's as well with the front as well, so you can set the shocks to a tacky track to an average track to a slick track. So, but usually I do that under yellows because you gotta count how many turns you do, and if you don't count it and you forget it while you're racing, it just messes with your whole race and basically your night's ruined. So I'll get the front shocks on, connect the cables, get the rears on, connect the cables to the rears, and then that's the whole shock system done. Now I've done all my shocks and all the cables are connected. Obviously my right rear here runs a canister. You can run one on the left as well, but I only run one on the right. But what I can do now is neaten up all the cables, cable times, the chassis. It's basically just to get it out of the way and just neaten it up. So I'm going to do that now, and then from there I can move on to the next thing. The car is almost done. All I got to do now is put my seat in. I've finished off the dash, the steering system, the fuel system, the front end, the diff, that's all done. I'm still waiting on my tail tank to get a fresh coat of paint, so I won't be putting that on anytime soon. And obviously I don't have my engine yet, so that's still waiting on that to put in. So, but I basically have the car as a roller now, so I've finished off the entire fuel system. I got my filter on, got my pump on, all the lines are connected, the steering system's all done, shocks are all done, and then all my dash is done. I got all my electrics connected, my MSD, my coil pack, obviously all my gauges and that. Obviously I got my radiator, all the shocks are done, my front ends in, pushers are on. So basically it's basically now a roller. So once I get the seat in, that will be all I can do until I get the rest of my parts back. There we go, the green machine is a roller, it's done and dusted. All I'm waiting for is my tail tank at CalMac. It's getting a fresh coat of paint, so it won't be long now until I get that, and that won't be too hard. It's only 4 bolts and a couple of fuel lines, so it's only a 2-minute job. Obviously Uncle Phil's still building my motor in Busselton. We're going from a 161 to a 166 next season, so we're gonna have some more horsepower, so definitely gonna be interesting come October, see where our pace is and see where we can finish. Hopefully we can get a couple of podiums. That would be really, really cool. So again, massive thank you to Phil and Jan at Powderworks. The chassis is outstanding. Love the new steering wheel. That thing looks wicked. Also thanks to everyone else who's helped out in the off season. Obviously Uncle Phil building the new engine, Mum and Dad for all the running around and all the help they've given me. All my other sponsors too. I seriously couldn't do it without them. Blue Water Shipping, Two Thugs Customs, Castrol, GT Brake and Clutch Busselton, GT Classics and Mechanical, CalMac Panel and Paint, Sprint Car Parts Australia, Powderworks, Transcoat and Empire Graphics. You guys, I seriously couldn't do it without any of you. So apart from that, now it's just a waiting game again, really. Once I get my tail tank, I can get the car to Busso, and then hopefully the engine's done and dusted. I'll be releasing a new video when the engine's in the car and we start it up for the first time. And then once that's all done, I'll get the car panelled up and take it off to Empire Graphics and get new stickers put on it. So can't wait to see how this thing turns out in the end. It's going to look wicked. So it's going to be fast on and off the track, hopefully. But again, thanks for watching. If you made it this far, I really, really appreciate it. If you haven't already, please don't forget to like and subscribe. It really means a lot to me. Can't thank everyone enough as well. All the support from all my fans and everyone who follows me on Facebook and Instagram at Bodil Motorsport. I really, really appreciate it. Also, we have new merchandise coming out soon. I'll be releasing a new design and prices in the next couple of weeks, hopefully. So if you want some, message me on Instagram or Facebook at Bodil Motorsport and I'll make sure to get it to you. So other than that, thanks for watching guys, really appreciate it, and I'm out.